and today we'll be presenting the research article that we have chosen for our group assignment. My team and I have chosen a research article from the Southeast Asian Journal of English Language Studies under the topic of motivation and attitude. Credit goes to the author of this article, which is written by Tang Xiuning, Ding Xiuling, and Nurjana Muhammad Jaffa. In the beginning, the author has addressed the main concern on why the Malaysians' level of English proficiency is still far from satisfactory. And later on, they have found out that it was lack of motivation and attitude that was the main cause of this issue. The authors then proceeded on carrying out a survey that focuses on the overall attitudes and motivation in learning, especially the English language. The target audience for this research is focused on the secondary school students in East Malaysia, particularly the Form 5 students. The main objective of this research was also divided into several parts which touches on several topics. First is the general attitude of the Form 5 students towards English. Next is to what extent are these students influenced by intrinsic or extrinsic motivation in learning the English language. Third is what is the relationship between attitudes and motivation. And fourth, how do the attitudes of art and science students differ. And fifth, what are the differences in attitude and motivation among the students of different proficiency levels.
Greetings everyone! My name is Andrea, and in this part of the presentation, I will be talking about the salient theories used by the authors and the significant findings of the study. Based on the referred article, it can be seen that the authors have used various salient theories theorized by several linguists. For this particular research, the authors did a research on the attitudes and motivation of Malaysian secondary students towards learning English as a second language. There are a total of 12 theories found within the article. For the sake of this presentation, I'll be stating 5 theories found within the article. The first theory is, according to Ellis 1997 and Gardner 2001, attitudes and motivation have a very strong and transparent link in regards to the language learning process. For the second theory, Gardner 1985 supposes that students who possess positive attitudes and high motivation are more likely to be successful compared to students who possess negative attitudes and lack of motivation. The third theory is, attitude is considered as one of the primary factors that adds to second language learning achievement. Spolsky 1969. According to Bandura 1977, in second language learning, motivation is generally recognized as an important contributor. It is categorized as two types, intrinsic and extrinsic. Intrinsic motivation, generally related to integrative orientation, relates to the capability to perform a certain behavior without external incentive or reward. The fifth theory is, Pittman and Bodiano, 1992, explained that extrinsic motivation typically associates with instrumental orientation. It is the will of a learner to achieve an external reward. Moving on, I'll be talking about the significant findings of the study. The first significant finding from the study is the second language acquisition model used during the research. The researchers of this article have chosen the social educational model by Gardner as the framework for this research study. This model is recognized as one of the most superior models within the area of SLA. Based on the model, Gardner has differentiated between 4 segments, which are social media, individual differences, second language acquisition context, and outcomes. Social media may be defined as a person's environment that determines perceptions regarding other languages and cultures. This particular segment is significant as the settings of the study is set among Malaysian secondary students, which are of a multicultural society learning English as a second language. Gardner also introduces 4 types of individual differences that are most influential in SLA. The types of individual differences are intelligence, language aptitude, motivation, and situational anxiety. This is the social educational model by Gardner. This particular model was chosen due to the main theme of the model being circulated around the acquisition of a second language within specific cultural conditions. Based from the model, it can be seen that motivation is derived from three elements, mainly integrativeness, attitudes towards the learning situation, and other supports contributing to motivation. Integrativeness' basic idea is the openness of an individual. In other words, his or her willingness or ability to obtain characteristics of another community plays a dominant role in the SLA process. Attitudes, however, are basically an attitude toward a certain aspect of the learning situation. As for other supports, it may consist of various factors that especially promotes the motivation. To make it short and sweet, an individual who shows high or positive levels of integrativeness or attitudes towards the learning situations but are not motivated to learn language, he or she will not be able to reach language achievement. Similarly, it goes for the same way to an individual who has a low level of integrativeness, a low level of attitudes towards the learning situation, but are very motivated to learn language, he or she will still not be able to acquire language achievement. However, if an individual is able to achieve high levels in the three elements, they will be able to achieve language achievement successfully. Once motivated, the individual is then ready to move forward to the next step to achieve successful second language learning. Motivated individuals are able to achieve language achievement through contributing efforts to learn a particular language, obtaining the wants and needs to achieve his or her goal, learn to like the task given to him or her in regards to learning the language. If we look back to the model, it can be seen that besides motivation, there is also language aptitude. Language aptitude also aids in the language achievement. Language aptitude refers to the capability of a person for language learning, which is why this model shows a significance in SLA. It helps the teachers to identify the types of element each student possesses, as well as embracing and enhancing these elements to help the students to achieve language achievement.
Based on the research article, there are 4 aspects that are applied as the methodology in conducting this quantitative survey. First and foremost is the research design and context. This survey was carried out to collect data from the secondary boys' school in Cebu, Sarawak. Next, sample population will help to determine the survey to produce accurate results. In this article, 111 students of Form 5 students with Mandarin or Chinese dialects were chosen. Their English scores for lower secondary assessment were used and categorized into 3 levels of proficiency, which is grade A as high proficiency, B as average proficiency, and C, D, and E as lower proficiency. The third aspect is the research tool. This questionnaire survey comprises with 48 questions and has 2 sections that were translated into Bahasa Melayu and was adapted from Gardner's Attitude and Motivation Test Battery AMTB. Last but not least, for the research procedures, students from 2 science and 2 art classes took 15 minutes to finish the questionnaire after the brief was given. SPSS Windows 11.5 were used in the study to evaluate data of ranking mean scores and one-way analysis of variance, ANOVA, and correlation coefficient. ANOVA was used to compare the mean difference between the group in terms of their disparity in disciplines and degree of proficiency. Another significant finding in this research article is the data analysis. The first section, Section A, collected data about the students' background that were distributed to 4 classes of Form 5 students. There were 35 students with the level of proficiency of HP and AP respectively, and the remaining 41 students with the level of LP. For the second section of the questionnaire, comprised with 10 questions each and was divided into 4 aspects, which are positive attitude, negative attitude, intrinsic motivation, and extrinsic motivation. For positive attitude, item 1 shows that the students are aware of the importance of English. Item 2 to item 7 express that the students are interested in learning English and expressing their desire to improve their English more. For example,
Hey, I want to ask you some questions. How do we differentiate between extrinsic and intrinsic motivation? Well, I did some notes when the teacher taught us just now, but I need more clarification.
You called me for this? I can see that you're really into the English language, aren't you? Okay, so here's the thing. Intrinsic motivation is basically when someone is motivated to do something when it's for themselves or just personal gain. However, on the other hand, extrinsic motivation is basically when someone wants to do something just to avoid something or just to earn a reward.
we can see that both of the students are interested to learn English and improve their language skills even when they were outside of the classroom. Conversely, when translated into action as indicated by the lower mean scores for item 8 and item 10, students tend to show little interest and effort in learning and improving their English. Therefore, the role of a teacher is vital to create a fun and interesting environment in the class. For example, it can be done through activities in class like board games. Board games can help the students to focus on their speaking, listening, and reading. Board games can also help the student to learn new vocabulary, spelling, reviewing words, as well as sparking English communication in a fun environment. For negative attitude, the first 4 items reveal that the student does face difficulty when learning English and their tendency to prefer to learn another language beside English is high. Items 5 to item 7 reveals that the students does not feel spiritless when learning English. Lastly, item 8 to item 10 reveals that the students do not think learning English is a waste of time, but instead they are still interested in boosting their English knowledge even after they are graduated from the school.
Randle. So, what class are we gonna have after we finish this music
Oh my
class?
god, it's your favorite subject.
What? That class? English class?
Yep.
No, I don't like it. I swear the teacher is gonna talk about the same thing he's gonna talk about last week. The same story. I swear. Mark my words.
Agreed.
As a teacher, to handle such negative attitudes, teachers can adjust the learning environment by creating a supportive and proactive environment in class. This can be done by engaging the students in group with plenty of activities. This is because students with learning difficulties will find more comfortable and easier to study in a group rather than listening to the lecture or reading book through the whole learning process. The third part highlights the intrinsic motivation, in which item 1 and item 3 shows that the students are interested in improving their self-development and their language skills. Item 2, 4, 5, and 6 express that the students are willing to learn English for social reason, for example, to understand the literature and cultures. Item 6 and 7 shows that the students are willing to learn English for fun and pleasure. As an example, Amber, do you know that there will be a singing competition during the English week soon? I hope that you can grab this chance and show your talent.
Oh, teacher, thank you. Thank you for the encouragement, teacher. Yeah, I've been wanting to take part in this competition, and if I do get the chance, I want to practice real hard. And this will be a huge opportunity for me because it will help me to improve my English better. Thank you, teacher.
Teacher plays a role to beef up the students' self-esteem. This is because teachers' encouragement will build up their confidence in using English in their daily. It will also help them to practice and learn from their mistakes to improve their language skills. Last but not least, the fourth part emphasizes about the extrinsic motivation in students. With average mean scores above 3, items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 reflect the students' deep desire to learn English for their career prospect and educational purposes. Items 6, 8, 9, and 10 reveals that the students tend to be less affected by external factors.
Okay, let's get this homework done. Let's get it done. Okay, I don't know this. I don't know this. Oh wait, I know that I'm gonna copy this from Randle though, because he knows this and I don't know this, so I'm gonna copy this, basically the whole page, so that I won't get in trouble for not submitting my homework. I'm so smart. Oh my god. Where's Randle?
In this case, teachers can help the students to gain their motivation by giving them praises and extra credits by every achievement achieved.
For the next part of the data analysis, this part focuses on the overall attitude of the students towards learning English. The results were then divided into two subcategories, which are agree or disagree. The results have shown that for the positive attitude, 71.2% of the students agreed on having a positive attitude on learning English, while only 28.8% students disagreed. However, for the negative attitude, only 65.8% of the students disagree on having negative attitude, while 34.2% admitted, which means they agree on having a negative attitude towards learning English. This has shown that even though some of the students might find it hard to learn the English language, they still show a positive attitude in learning it. While on the other hand, only a small amount of the students have negative attitude and find English not so enjoyable. The next part discusses on how extrinsic or intrinsic motivation affects students' attitude in learning English. The research has proven that intrinsically motivated students are more likely to have more positive attitude and less negative attitude towards learning English when compared to extrinsically motivated students. This also suggests that intrinsically motivated students may be more successful learner of English, as positive attitude makes learning English more favorable. For the next part of the questionnaire, it focuses on the comparison of attitude and motivation in learning English between the art and science students. It is shown that the science students portrays more positive attitude in learning English, whereas the art students have shown a higher percentage of negative attitude.
Hey, what are you going to study today?
I guess I will study about English because most of the science subject use the terms in English, so I think I need to study English more.
I see. I'm glad I don't have to study English that hard because all of my subjects are taught in Malay. It's so easy for me.
This is most likely due to the fact that most of the science students find it easier to learn science-related subjects in English as there are more reference, while on the other hand, most art-related subjects are more country-oriented, such as history, geography, visual arts, and economy, which makes it easier for them to learn it in their native language, which is Bahasa Melayu. Results also reveal that the higher proficiency students and average proficiency group are more gravitating towards intrinsically motivated compared to low proficiency student group, which are more extrinsically motivated. This is possibly due to the fact that students with higher proficiency already have a strong foundation of the English language and their goal are to improve themselves or master the English language completely. However, the lower proficiency group with lesser or close to no foundation of the English language will most likely find it hard to start from ground zero to acquire a new language.
Oh my god, guys, did you watch the new episode of All My English last night? I feel so motivated to master English so that I can be an English lecturer in the future.
Same. I want to work real hard to improve my English skills too.
Are you for real? Would you study that hard just to achieve that? I mean, I don't know if I can be like you guys, but if someone offers me money for good grades, for sure I'll burn the midnight oil. Hey everyone, hey Dr. Asma and my fellow friends, my name is Irvine Julian, and today I will be talking about the relevance of the study and also its implications and importance to current and future English teachers, so stay tuned. So first of all, the author stated that it is important for teachers to be aware that attitude and motivation play a major role in the students' learning process of the English language. Teachers especially English teachers, need to be aware of this, because we need more people to be able to be proficient, to be speaking English confidently in our country in order to achieve an industrialized nation. Moreover, teachers should know that their students are also humans. This means that teachers should view their students as someone who has feelings, who has a heart, and the ability to think well, not solely as problem solvers and to communicate with. Other than that, teachers should know that every student is different and they have different learning styles. As stated by Gardner, there are 4 types of individual differences that contributes to the language acquisition. The first one is intelligence. Second is motivation. Third is situational anxiety. And lastly, the language aptitude. There are 2 types of motivation, which is instrumental motivation and also integrative motivation. For Malaysian students, we are often instrumentally motivated to learn English. So for the first motivation, which is instrumental motivation, it can be defined as learning a subject, in this context English, just to fulfill requirements. So for example, for secondary school students, they learn English in order to achieve the grade A in their English language subject. So for the second type of motivation, which is integrative motivation, unlike the first one, which is to fulfill requirements, this is when a learner learns the language in order to benefit himself or herself for self-development. I'm sure most of you guys are wondering on why this study is important and how it can be beneficial to us, future English teachers. This study is beneficial to future English teachers to maximize their students' ability in learning the English language subject. And by that, it can be done by changing the norm of instrumental motivation into integrative motivation. How do we do that? So the first step is to associate a communication skill that encourages the student to speak in English without the fear of making any mistakes. Any mistakes made by the students should be fixed without making the students feel ashamed, just like this. Can I have someone to read line 7, paragraph 5? Okay, can you read that line for me, please, and for the whole class?
Last Tuesday, me and my father teacher.
How old are you? Just a simple line and you can't read it properly. You're just wasting our time here, you know?
Teacher.
What? You can't pronounce that word? Let me see. Oh, it's pronounced as grocery store. It's okay, that's a good try. You may sit down now. So, after watching the skit, did you notice that in the first scenario, the teacher actually shamed the students in front of other students? That should not be done by the teacher if the teacher wants the students to speak English more. However, in the second scenario, the teacher did not shame the student. Instead, he fixed the problem that the student is facing and told him he did a good try. These simple motivations from the teacher play a major role in the student's attitude and motivation towards learning the English language. So now that we're done with the first step, what is the second step? The second step is for teachers to create a stress-free learning environment. By stress-free learning environment, I mean that teachers should monitor and facilitate his or her students to make sure each and every one of the students are able to understand the topic before moving on to a more difficult task. With all that being said, I hope that you guys understand the importance and how this study can be beneficial to future English teachers. I also hope that we can apply it to our teaching techniques in the future.
All in all, it can be said that the Form 5 students from both streams have positive attitude towards learning English. They still understand the importance of learning English not just an additional language, but also to benefit them in the future. The research has also conclusively proven that most of the students are more extrinsically than intrinsically motivated to learn English. This is why further studies needs to be undertaken to overcome the lack of intrinsic motivation in learning English, as it would portray lack of interest in learning the English language. And more proactive measures should be taken by educators and higher-ups in making sure the students are genuinely interested in the English language. That is all from our group today, and thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoy, and don't forget to always stay safe.